Hi everyone.
Hello. We are so happy to be back with you continuing our prayer series. And today we're talking about the Rosary. So I don't know about your experience with the Rosary, Father Vaccaro, but I think that many of us, maybe some of you watching the video, have an idea about the Rosary that it's something that a certain type of Catholic prays. And maybe it's not a way that's appealed to you. And I have to say that was me for quite a long time, which I'll share a little bit later. So we just want to give you another idea of how the Rosary could be a great form of prayer for you, whether you've tried it and you love it, or maybe this is something that you're going to try for the first time. So maybe we'll start with a little bit of background on the Rosary. Father, do you want to share that with us?
Sure, yeah. So the Rosary, from its earliest days, it's one of the most ancient prayers in the Church because if you know from praying the Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb, Jesus. That chunk of the Hail Mary, which is the core, really, of the Rosary, is straight from Scripture. So the prayer is so old is because it was, for Christians, especially during the first, centuries of the Church when there was not a lot of access to the written text of the Scripture, for the average person, this was a way for them to be praying in a scriptural way, united with the community. And they were able, especially by focusing on the Blessed Mother, they were able to spend time thinking about, praying for the intercession of, and learning from Jesus' most faithful disciple, who was Mary. And so the idea was by focusing more on Mary and asking her to lead you as a Christian, or them as Christians, to her son, and by repeating that over and over again, they would become more like Mary and closer to Jesus. So the Rosary was always a very special devotion in the life of the Church because Mary has a special place in Jesus' heart. So therefore Mary and her prayers should have a special place in our heart. So for the very early days of the Church, there would be the repetition of Marian prayers. And the reason why the Rosary was, there would be decades of the Rosary, so they'd be thinking about different periods of Jesus' life. It helped the average person remember the basic story of Jesus' ministry, what the Gospels were about. So that's where the decades came from. Why was there a certain number? So sets of 10, or overall, if you add up the original 5 sets, 3 sets of 5 mysteries. We'll go through into some of the structure. But why
There's a lot of math involved in the Rosary.
Some of these numbers were important. The only reason I say the numbers was because when you add up all the Hail Marys that a person would say after praying several rosaries, it would be 150 generally. And there were 150 psalms in the Scriptures. And so people would pray a Hail Mary for each one of the psalms because, again, they couldn't memorize all the psalms. They wouldn't have access or the time of the day to do it. But when they were out working in the field or walking with their family, or something they could do with their neighbors, or at home, or in time of trial when they couldn't make it to Mass, they would pray the Rosary to be in union with the Scriptures. So that's kind of a scattershot history of it all. But basically the prayer existed in order to bring the people closer to Mary, who would then lead them closer to Christ. So.
I didn't know a lot of that. That's really interesting. So what about for your personal experience of praying the Rosary? Is that a form of prayer that you did growing up?
So I will tell you my experience. I remember when I went to a Catholic elementary school, and we prayed the Rosary because the religious sisters that taught at our school belonged to a community of sisters dedicated to the Blessed Mother. So they taught us the Rosary, and it was kind of just a normal part of, we knew what the Rosary was. I did not often opt to pray the Rosary on my own. It was, I think I fall into the category of Alison, especially as a kid. The Rosary is not the first thing you think about, oh, I'm going to go pray the Rosary. That sounds fun. It's that or video games, so of course the Rosary. So I did not do it often when I was younger, but when I was in high school, I remember I was going through a particular trial in my life, and for whatever reason, I don't know, this is God, obviously, but for whatever reason, it just came to me, pray the Rosary. Pray the Rosary. So I started praying the Rosary every night. And I would be good most nights, and then there would be times when I would stop. But I remember it was in high school that I chose, or at least heard the invitation, pray the Rosary, this is going to calm you. Pray the Rosary, this will give you time to think about something that's not about yourself. You'll focus on God. So I heard that invitation, I did it, and, that was kind of the seed planted, this is a prayer that's efficacious, it works.
That's really
So,
cool.
what about you?
I saw my mom and my grandma pray the Rosary growing up, which I think is the case for many of us. Grandmas love the Rosary a lot of times. So I think that planted seeds, that I saw that this was something that aided their to it. But I didn't think it was fun. It was very long. And I remember praying some rosaries as a family and here at Nativity and religious education. But then I just didn't include that at all in my experience of the faith. So when I was in college and I was a Bible study leader, I was asked to lead a rosary with our group of girls, and I was so embarrassed to say I didn't know how to pray the rosary. It was so awkward. So I think I just associated that with that's not going to be my thing. Also, I don't know if any of you feel this way, but I liked to do things in my faith that I felt were active, and I told myself that the rosary, well, people could sit and pray the rosary, or they can go out and help people, and so that was kind of what I was thinking. So for me, it really changed this past Advent. The diocese put out this challenge to do something for Advent. I don't remember the name, but anyway, they challenged people.
Just one yes.
Just one yes. That was it.
Right?
Yeah,
joy.
that was it.
Joy.
Yep. So I saw that you could choose your challenge. I respond very well to challenges and checking things off lists. So I said that I would pray a rosary a day during Advent. And I got this rosary bracelet, which is something that I now wear all the time. And I could just pray a rosary throughout the day. So I had to learn the mysteries. I had to really relearn how to pray the rosary. So at the age of 29, this was really my first experience choosing to pray the rosary every day. And long story short, I just found that it was such a great way for me to talk about everything going on in my head at the end of the day. And I stuck with it through Advent, so now it's towards the end of the summer, and I still enjoy praying a rosary every day. So that's just so crazy to me because I avoided it for so long, but it actually ended up being a great way for me to pray. And just thinking of Mary as a mother is so comforting, especially there's so much going on in our world right now. Just to know that I have that advocate going to Jesus and kind of whispering in his ear, that was really attractive to me. And I found that even for me, having a rosary bracelet or like wearing a miraculous medal is a great way to throughout the day think of my relationship with Mary and how she's drawing me closer to her son. So that was my experience with praying the rosary. So yeah, do you have anything else that you want to add?
So I agree with Alison with one of the things that makes the rosary so attractive to me now. I pray the rosary every day. When you say that, you almost sound like a rebel. I pray the rosary. I'm a varsity Catholic.
I pray the rosary every day.
I pray the rosary every day. It has nothing to do with bragging. It has everything to do with this is just such a powerful prayer, and it's so, like you said, it is very practical. Because especially as people that are kind of like out in the world and doing things, sometimes it's not always possible to just say, I'm going to sit for a long period of time in a silent church and I will meditate with God. Because some of us either don't have the time, we don't have the availability, or we don't have the patience for it. The rosary is portable. It is a concrete length of time that it will take to pray. It is provided for you. You don't have to create it. It is already there. So when you have that baseline structure, you know that you don't have to be too creative because it's already there. And then it allows, and this is what is helpful for me, is because you have all of the prayers already stated, most of us know the prayers, the Hail Mary, the Our Father, the Glory Be. And the repetition allows you to be repeating something that is holy because all of the prayers are straight from the scriptures. But that little like white noise repetition allows my heart to settle and my mind to go up to God. So you were talking like the end of the day, like when you know that, okay, I'm going to be praying 10 Hail Marys and I know how to say it, probably about Hail Mary number 2, I'm thinking about something that I need to be praying for or about. So that's always been very helpful. It's a very, very calming and practical prayer because it's so portable and it's so easy to do wherever you're at.
Yeah, and I'll just add 2 other things too. I mentioned that active versus, you don't want to just be sitting and doing something. All of the things you're reflecting on are active parts of Jesus' ministry. So that can also help us to just kind of connect with what Jesus has already done in Scripture and maybe relate it to our life. And like Father said, it's portable. So I love taking a walk and praying the rosary. You don't have to be sitting in one spot if that's not been working for you. The other thing is, the rosary is a great thing to pray with friends or with family. So sometimes my mom will say if we're doing something like, hey, would you mind if we prayed a rosary on the day? Maybe initially, before I was used to praying the rosary, I would have thought, okay, this is going to be so long. But now it goes by really quickly, and it's nice to be able to pray together. Or, as one of our ministries here at Nativity, an adult ministry, we've offered a live rosary on Instagram that we can pray together. So what does that look like for you? Maybe that's inviting someone to pray with you or telling someone, hey, I'm trying the Rosary for the first time. I don't know how to do it. Do you want to do it with me? And that could be just a great way for you to try out this new way of praying. So, any final thoughts, Father?
Last thing is, if you learn all the mysteries of the Rosary, you have, in just 20 little segments, because there are 20 decades or 20 mysteries of the Rosary, in those 20 little memorizations, you know the entire story of Jesus' life, from the moment he was conceived until the moment he went to heaven, and the promises that he made that we are called to go to heaven too, which I think is awesome. So if anyone ever comes up and asks you, what do you know about Jesus? You could, just by listing the mysteries, tell the entire story of the gospel. It's really cool.
So we hope that this encourages you in your relationship with Mary as our mother, which will lead you to Jesus, her son, which will lead you to just, grow even more in your faith. So thanks for watching.
God bless you.